Hey everyone, I apologize if this goes off prematurely. Yeah, I'm up and I do have to work in a few hours, almost 5 hours. I have to be at work, so I should be okay. I mean, I drank a lot of this just now. There's a latte, so that keeps me going right now, and we'll see what happens. You know, there. But I wanted to talk some wrestling. I wanted to talk some TNA, and I wanted to talk some WWE. Because, both companies are in the spotlight this past week. I mean, literally in the spotlight. In fact, both companies are basically playing tug of war right now with one individual, with one certain talent, I should say. So, what's going on? Why is both companies in the news so much? Well, from the TNA perspective, TNA a week ago today, which is Sunday, had Bound for Glory. And at Bound for Glory, they crowned a new TNA World Champion in Matt Hardy. Now, storyline-wise, well actually business-wise, behind-the-scene-wise, you have to admit that was a good move. They were in the Carolinas, and that's of course Hardy country, probably the best choice you got, because I don't think you would have had maybe the crowd they did. I don't think they would have had the crowd that they did if they didn't put a Hardy, either Matt or Jeff, in the main event and allow them to go over. Just saying. Now, with that said, as far as Matt Hardy becoming champion, that's great and everything, but storyline wise, TNA had EC3, Ethan Carter III, EC3 the following day file an injunction. You get his lawyers and stuff to file an injunction against Matt Hardy, Dixie Carter, and TNA. Basically, the injunction, from a storyline perspective, banned Matt Hardy from Impact Wrestling, from appearing on Impact Wrestling, and basically caused the company to be held up, kind of held hostage, if you will, if Matt Hardy didn't give up the championship. Now, my thought process is this, that I think they were going to go with this either way. Even if Matt wasn't in the main event at Bound for Glory, they would have done this either way. Because what it looks like to me, from a storyline perspective, and I know some people might say I'm going to read too much into this, but from a storyline perspective, it sounds like they're making EC3 the kind of guy that even if he loses, and let's say he loses clean or whatever, but basically loses and he loses the title, that he's always going to find a way to get it back or find a way to get away from the person that beat him, because he believes the only person that should be champion is him. Now here's what's funny about this, and this is what's gotten TNA under a lot of criticism. Because of the storyline injunction, Matt Hardy decided, for the benefit of TNA, to vacate the TNA Impact Championship and allow TNA to have a champion they can be proud of, a champion that's always going to be there. Excuse me. So that's what they're doing. Again, that's what they're doing. So in response to that, you have a press conference held by Dixie Carter and Billy Corgan stating that one, they were going to fight the injunction until Matt Hardy talked to Dixie and told her what he wanted to do. Long story short, Billy Corgan and Dixie Carter decided to create a 32 man, or in this case 28 man and 4 women. I think that's what it is, 4 or 5 women. Basically, it's more of a, it's a 32 roster, a 32 TNA roster tournament with round robin play, if you will. I don't know how that, with round robin play in the first round. Here's what I mean. Basically, TNA, to kind of crown a new world champion, has created a tournament very similar to the World Cup of Soccer. Yeah, the World Cup of Soccer tournament bracket they are borrowing to create their tournament called the World Title Series. Yeah, and if you take a look at the logo for World Title Series that they're using, it seems very familiar, right? Well, of course it does, because it's basically their version of the freaking World Series logo. World Series of Baseball, that is. But anyway, they've created this World Title Series. Like I say, it's a tournament of 32. You got 4 groups in round robin play, with the winners of each group advancing to the field of 16. That's right. Advancing to the round of 16. So that sounds great and everything, right? And I'm sure the diest of TNA fans are cool with that, right? But here's what's crazy. The matches that they are showing on Impact were filmed back in July. That's right. Back in July they were filming these matches. Why? Well, according to numerous wrestling sources, TNA had already planned for this to go down. And like I said, even if Matt Hardy wasn't in the match at Bound for Glory, this was the plan they were going to go with. And again, like I was saying, these matches, these round robin matches, these group matches that take place, that start the tournament, all took place and were filmed a few months ago, back in July. Because here's why. One of the participants in this tournament, or actually 2 other participants in this tournament, are no longer with the company. That's right. 2 of the participants are no longer with the company. Probably 3, for all we know. 2 or 3 or who knows how many possible now TNA alumni are no longer with the tournament. Are no longer that are probably in the tournament are no longer with the company. 2 of them that are in the round robin play are Austin Aries and Kenny King. Kenny King back in ROH with Rhett Titus as the All Night Express, and Austin Aries, who's back with Ring of Honor and occasional indie promotions and possibly on the verge of maybe doing NXT, if that happens. He's in it as well. And here's what's funny. Austin Aries tweeted on his Twitter account that he had no idea about this. Basically, in his own kind of way, Austin Aries basically indicated he's not part of any tournament, that he was actually sitting at home and enjoying NXT TakeOver. Again, which kind of tells you he might be considering that for his next step in his career. But the point is, TNA, it has a tournament where 2, if not more, competitors are no longer with the company. Which is kind of funny because recently, a TNA original, a guy that's been there since day one, the Cowboy James Storm, who just came off some of the most controversial work, if you want to look at it, storylines and all that, whether you look at it as dumb, decent, or just, you don't know what to make of it. James Storm, who had been with TNA since day one, arrived the night after, 2 nights ago, on the NXT tapings for next week and the 21st, mostly the 21st, arrived as a surprise debut in NXT. Now, word had been going around that James Storm had been talking with WWE to try to get a role maybe as a player coach. Someone that trains the younger generation, the up-and-comers, getting them ready and everything, as well as, gets in the ring and continues wrestling and living out his dream. So, yeah, basically the Cowboy James Storm, who, like I said, in the past year, was the leader of the Revolution, had that storyline with Mickie James and Magnus, recently lost on apparently what would be his last Impact appearance to Masha Khalid, I think that's his name, formerly Koya, and now all of a sudden he shows up in NXT. And what's funny about this, and how I believe it ties into the whole World Title Series, is I think James Storm is in that round of 16. And so, as I mentioned earlier, WWE and TNA are kind of playing tug of war. With James Storm here, because TNA is trying to offer him more money than what his previous contract gave him, while WWE is offering him, about the same amount, if not more, with a similar deal that they gave to Samoa Joe, and that deal being, hey, you come to NXT, we'll pay you as much, if not more, than what they're offering you, and you'll also get to still finish up your indie dates just like Joe did. Now, it sounds like, apparently, James Storm is leaning towards WWE more so than TNA. But TNA obviously is fighting to get him back, and again, to me, makes me think that they have him in the round of 16 as part of this tournament. Yeah, they have him in the round of 16 as part of this tournament. And if that's the case, that's one match they may have to change. Honestly. That's one match they may have to, whoever he faces, they may have to scratch out the books, may have to put in the vault or something. Because if he's leaning towards more WWE and not going back to TNA, then that will put TNA in a bind, because if he's one of the advertised participants in the round of 16, that's gonna, like I said, that's gonna throw them off course. That's gonna make them look bad. It is. So what do they do? So what does TNA do? Well, again, they're trying to get him back there, so at least it makes it look more legit that, okay, he is in the company, and oh, by the way, he is part of the tournament, and he is part of the company, so there's no mess or anything. That's the only reason. And I believe if that's the reason, I think James Storm is better off going to WWE and NXT. I really think he does. I really think he does have that. I think he's better off there, honestly. I think he really is. So, that's why TNA is in the news. And apparently, apparently they already crowned the TNA champion according to a Spanish wrestling source called, I think, soulwrestling.net or something. Apparently the person they have crowned as the TNA champion is the Destroyer, Bobby Lashley. That is a rumor going around. We don't know if that's true or not, but that's the rumor. So, what's the point of this tournament if we already know who's going to be the champion? You know what I'm saying? And again, this goes back to what a lot of people have said about TNA. This is some of the stupidity, and these are some of the things that, as I said in a video, they need to fix. And this is some of the stupidity they need to get rid of. And that's the honest truth. That's the absolute, honest to God truth. They need to get rid of some of this stupidity. Because it's not working for them. It's not. Now, as far as WWE goes, of course they had NXT TakeOver Respect. And I saw a majority of it. And I thought it was pretty good, just like every TakeOver event has been. I have not yet watched the 30-minute Iron Woman match between Sasha and Bayley, but from what I've heard from people, this one took what they did in Brooklyn to another level. That basically, this one and the Brooklyn match are match of the year candidates no matter what. So, with that said, TakeOver did make several headlines. One, again, it made a historic headline with the ladies main eventing a WWE event, pay-per-view caliber event on the network in TakeOver. It was historic because they were competing in the first ever Iron 30-minute, and the first ever Iron Man or Iron Woman match, 30-minute or 60-minute, doesn't matter. As well as we saw the in-ring debut of one of the most accomplished female wrestlers in the world. Kana, now known as Osaka, Kana, basically Asaku, I think. Asaku? I can't pronounce the name. Asuka, that's what it is, Asuka. Asuka, we saw Asuka debut and basically destroy Dana Brooke. As well as we saw the first winners of the inaugural Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, which was Samoa Joe and Finn Balor. So, yeah, a lot of good matches. Apollo Crews still getting his stock rising and everything, especially with the fact that he's got a big match probably coming up in London. So that's pretty good. So overall, just a decent show. Overall, a decent show. Now, here's what's funny about this. With every Raw, SmackDown, or pay-per-view, or even NXT show, or TakeOver show, they have several videos, if not one video, on their YouTube page that's known as a Fallout. Basically a post-show reaction video or videos. And remember when I said in that one video that WWE is still bitter towards CM Punk? Well, apparently you can't even call someone that you've just had a historic match with and basically rewrote the rule book, if you will, for women's wrestling, if not wrestling in general. You can't even call that person the best in the world without WWE taking offense to it. Now, I don't think Bayley will get in trouble for what she said. I don't think she will. I think it was just something that happened. I don't think she'll get in trouble because apparently everybody likes her. I think Vince McMahon, I've heard, likes her. So I don't think she'll get in trouble. But basically she called Sasha the best in the world. Now, some might say, now I know some of you might say, really? WWE took the video down because she said Sasha Banks was this. Yeah. But I don't think that's the only reason, because even though they may not want a chance that CM Punk may retreat that, because apparently he's been in the news over the past week criticizing WWE about the association with Susan J. Corman and this or that. You know, maybe they don't want to take another chance with him, especially with all those legal issues that have happened. But I don't think that's the only reason. In fact, I think they would have kept